we always want to try to eat everything we can in its rawest form, right?
Well, like you said, when we were talking about cruciferous and everything, you were saying how they heat it up to a certain point, but not too high or something like that. What you said, the boiling point. What was that? It was in that
process.
Yeah, you're talking about how they
use a 17-inch vacuum to bring that boiling process to 72 degrees, so that it doesn't destroy the nuclear content of the food. That's a good point, right?
Yeah, that's wildly
because
interesting.
Like so many of your, like when you pasteurize milk, you bring it up over 100, you kill off all the vitamin structure. So by keeping it under at that lower temperature, you sustain the chemical makeup of the product. So that's good, and that'd be why the frying wood. Got it. So yeah, and so that's something that it's good to let people know. Okay. So with that, are we ready to roll there, Christopher? All right, boss. Welcome everybody to another episode of Flip the Script. I'm Dr. J. Joey here, if you would please, with my good friend Cam. And we're going to touch a little bit today on one of those sensitive topics everybody loves, anti-aging. And that thing that we all do daily, most people, unless you're fasting, you can't get around it. And the relationship that our diets have with the rate that we actually increase or decrease the rate of the aging process. One of those processes, it's a natural process that happens to us. It's just part of life, and that's called glycation, okay? And the glycation byproducts are what result in the sign of aging. It's a cellular breakdown that occurs naturally. It's just part of life. But the rate that we break it down determines how quickly we reach our demise. So let's talk a little bit about that. If you would, Cam, give me the what does Google definition of glycation have to say?
Glycation is a natural process that occurs when sugars like glucose and fructose attach to proteins, lipids, or nucleic acids.
Right. Okay. So again, it's a natural, unavoidable process of life. All right. So when a sugar, glucose, or fructose, right, binds with a protein or fat. So think about that. All right. How often does that happen in our average food consumption in America?
Probably every meal.
Right?
You know?
Think about it. Hamburger, right? Hot dog. What do you have? You have the hamburger. You got the meat in the hamburger, right?
Or breakfast,
there's your
oatmeal,
protein.
Orange juice, bacon.
Right. But let's go to this hamburger for a second. So anytime we put a sugar next to a protein or fat, we're going to increase that rate of glycation. So we call this, if I can, let me draw a picture on my whiteboard. So if we increase the rate of that, we call it advanced glycation end products, AGE. Our AGEs, what does that spell? Got it? Age.
That's right.
Okay, so you want to slow this baby down. Think about how you combine your foods. So we go to the hamburger, for example. We have the meat, the protein, and we have the fat in the burger, right? What are we slapping right next to it? How about a hamburger bun? We talk about the glycemic index of bread, 72, more than table sugar. Then you throw in some ketchup with high fructose corn syrup, like you were mentioning earlier. What do we got? We got glycation. So just about every meal, unless we're isolating these, we are amping up the rate of the glycation process. Now, another word for glycation is caramelization. So think about what we're talking about here, to caramelize. So when we make caramel for caramel ice cream, how do we create caramel? Well, what we do is we take sweet condensed milk and we heat it very high. And that causes the browning effect. So when you see the spots on the skin, the browning effect on that is known as caramelization or glycation. So other symptoms of glycation occurring: cataracts, arteriosclerosis, skin damage, the browning of the skin. These are all signs of that glycation occurring. So again, if we can slow this process down, would it make more sense for us to maybe isolate those proteins from those sugars in our meal? You were asking me the other day about, like, for example, steak and potatoes. The white potato has a starch, but it still has a higher glycemic index than the sweet potato. So of the two, I take the sweet potato, right? But would I be better off with something like maybe a kale or some green vegetable with a very low glycemic index? Yes. So when you think about degenerative diseases today, like Alzheimer's, my grandmother on my father's side, she passed away after 4 years of Alzheimer's, late stage Alzheimer's. So my grandfather went through a very tough time taking care of her through those last 4 years. But she was one of those classic Southern women who would just about every meal, certainly lunch and dinner, there was always that little sweet behind it, that little bit of sugar. So had we known then what we know now, maybe we would think twice before we throw that sweet in after we consume the protein, because this is a natural process of how it occurs in the body. So the key to one of the things that we can do, because you asked me before, aging process, what are some of those things that accelerate it? This was probably the single greatest thing that we can do almost on a daily basis to slow down the rate by which these cells go through their lifespan. And of course, the longer that our cells are able to sustain longevity in the telomeres that we were talking about, those little antennas that you were asking me about that are on the end of each one of those chromosomes, we want those to last as long as possible, because the shorter they become, the quicker the cell dies off, and the quicker the cell dies off, the quicker we're gone. So if I can increase the longevity of that, this is one great way to increase the telomeres, the antennas on those chromosomes, is to slow down the rate of glycation. So we're going to be able to do that with our diet. What a great place to start. So see, we do have control. This is what people want to understand. And you were talking about this. So a lot of people, when they say, well, genetically I'm predisposed, my dad died of cardiovascular disease at 60, so I've been told genetically I'm predisposed to this. No, you're not, because again, that's your genes, but it's not about the genes, and the genes is about epigenetics, or what causes these genes to be turned on, and which is the environment. So
right.
Don't turn them on. Pay attention to your environment, and you can keep those quiet. So you don't have to. It's not so much the genetic predisposition. It's that we tend to eat out of the same refrigerator, as I like to say, as we were raised. So the change needs to be made there, and this is a great place to start, people. Just know that your food combining does make a difference. Same thing, fruits. Fruits are still fructose, it's still sugar. So if I can avoid eating those when I'm eating my fats and my proteins, I'm going to increase my longevity. What a beautiful way just to have our own self-control and our own control over our demise and how we feel throughout the day. And you brought up, when you Googled that, they talked about glucose and fructose, right? Well, glucose, at least 80% of that gets broken down in the liver. Fructose does not. So when we consume fructose, and like we were talking about in the other podcast, the sugar that you do use does make a difference, the rate of it getting broke down. Fructose will not get broke down by the liver, so you got about a month worth of this thing running through the system, causing havoc, increasing the rate of these AGEs that result in AGT. aging, ing, sorry. But again, everybody, well, not everybody wants to live forever, but let's just say, people ask me this all the time when I say, possibility of 90 or 100. Would you do it? Oh, I don't know. I don't know if because most people see 80 and 90 as real tough years on people's lives with a lot of medication, a lot of joint-related issues and other demises that are occurring much too early at our age. But I asked them, I say, hey, if you can make it into your 90s with vitality, would you take it? Across the board? Absolutely. So here's one thing that you can do yourself. Use your own brain on this one and avoid glycation as much as you possibly can on a daily basis because you have control over this. You don't need a pharmaceutical for this because a pharmaceutical is not going to touch this. This is a natural process. It's a lifestyle thing. So slow down your glycation and do that in your consumption of what you put in your mouth every day.
So diet, so you're saying diet would be the number one thing to address for anti-aging. What would you say would be number two?
Stress, right? Because increased cortisol. That's again, you have an anabolic and you have a catabolic hormone. Anabolic builds up, right? Things like estrogen, testosterone, increases longevity over the long haul. But catabolic hormones break down. And that's cortisol, and that's stress. And we know most people with heavy stress tend to shorter lifespans because it's pro-inflammatory. So anything that reduces inflammation is going to help with the longevity. And of course, when you're looking at inflammation associated with glycation, again, the joint pain, the other things that we're finding, again, the same thing that runs with the increased likelihood of the glycation and the AGEs are the same things that cause so many of our inflammatory conditions. So when we look at inflammatory disease, whether it's Crohn's, irritable bowel, skin-related issues, we talked about that in the detoxification program that we did. And we talked about how easy it was to do the 10-day cleanse. All these things are going to be related to how quickly we pass through our time here on this earth, right? So if we can slow that down, stress. But then again, like I write in the first book, stress is not a case of, show me somebody who doesn't have it. I mean, who is stressed. Show me one person who's not in our society today, right? So that's another good point. And so oxidation, again, increases the rate by which we age as well. And oxidation increases with glycation. So, good point.
Yeah, and you have a lot of people, you'll hear people like, or say you're watching a TV show or a movie and a girl is heartbroken, so she's just destroying ice cream because the mental health is bad, and that makes the mental health even worse because she's just putting crap in her body. It's like it goes hand in hand. Like if you were to do the number one thing for anti-aging, it's probably going to take care of a lot of other things. It's going to help with the stress. It's going to help with the poor mental health because then you're going to start getting your vitamins and your minerals in that are going to help your nervous system. So it's like that's one thing I really liked about the body when I first met you is you started to open up my eyes to how much of the body was supposed to be a well-oiled machine that works all together to do all these.
Created that way.
It's like everything's connected. So you pull the string here, it's doing something over there. Yeah. And the first analogy for it was, you can't see it now, but it's behind that. And it's the foot levelers thing to where it talks about when one foot is turned in because it's a high arch and it's unsupported, it'll do something up. And then all of a sudden, like if you have a hip imbalance here, it'll mess with either your neck or this, all these different things. And that's why I started getting into stuff with the body because it's so complex. But it works together so amazingly that it's just wild. Like if you fix this, this, and this, and this, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So the point with that, and the good thing you're mentioning there, so for the longevity aspect of it, at the cellular level, keep your inflammation as low as possible. It's eventually going to be your demise. So we talked about the stress and the increase in cortisol, which is pro-inflammatory, right? And then, of course, the inflammation associated with the diet. So when we look at places like the blue zones around the world, I kind of, I have to laugh because they're real. It's real. But if you think about blue zones, they're basically, this is the way that people ate here in America when we ate off the land. So this was a blue zone at one time, right?
The whole world was
at one time. So when you look at these people who live naturally to, in their 90s and 100s and look 60 and 70 when they're 90 and 100 years old, the key is their glycation's been slowed down. And they slowed it down because they eat basically those things. Like I said before, it's not rocket science. If it doesn't have a label, it's probably good for you. So this is what they're eating, right? They're eating off the land. And of course, they tend to naturally not combine these food groups. And they don't have a lot of sugar to begin with in their diets anyway. So they're knock that aspect out of the caramelization, again, that we were talking about, the browning. So yes, that's the thing. If we thought about our cells like what they are, which are basically just a 70 trillion or whatever the mind-blowing number that are in the body, these are just little peeps, man. They're doing the same thing we are. They're breathing, they're replicating, they're defecating. That's what they're doing, right? And yet they rely on us for their longevity. So if we take care of them, they're going to thrive. But, when we feed them some of this stuff that's in our diets, like I said before, it's really genocide if you think about it, right? Mm-hmm. So we should be strung up by our toes for what we are doing to ourselves. Again, I mentioned again, our bodies want to be healthy whether we do or not. It's a natural process. So anything that we can do to make it easier on them, and this is one of the simplest ways that we can go, just the simplest way that we can go is just watch the food combining, right? The overeating. And remember that those sugars, they don't belong in a meal, if at all possible, that combines a protein and a fat. Protein's probably greater than fats, but some fats for that matter, but most every protein when it combines with the sugar. Every time you do that, there goes one day, maybe, or at least a few hours off of your biological clock.
Yeah, people used to say it with cigarettes,
Well, again, you talk about something increasing glycation. Yes, yeah. Right. Cellular destruction. Yes, cigarettes. But now we know those things do. Yeah. But today, look at what we're going through today. It's food, people. We talk about this again, over and over. 80% of all the demise in this world right now is metabolical. That means this metabolism, we're eating it. This is a great way to explain it. That's because people are spending a lot of money on anti-aging, right? And all the surgeries and everything to make us look younger on the outside, which is okay, but it doesn't slow down your biological merry-go-round because that is still happening no matter what you look like on the outside. But if you take control of this on the inside, you're going to look a hell of a lot better on the outside too. So again, I know some people go out, hey, if you're going to get the facelift, you're going to get the tummy tuck, whatever. Okay, I get it, but what caused that in the first place? This. So maybe think about curbing this down, right? Because I know too many people who've gone through tummy tucks and other types of cosmetic surgeries only to have it come right back again because what did they not change?
The stats on that are absolutely,
lifestyle.
Those stats are crazy. Yes. It's almost like every person
Well, it's the same thing. Well, look, it's the same sad truth with our drugs, right? People wind up with elevated cholesterol. Okay, it's a bad thing. No, it's not. There's a reason for that. Like I talk about, we'll go over this one day, but it's a hormone problem. So now you go in and your doctor puts you on a statin drug to lower your cholesterol and says, okay, you can eat whatever you want to now, right? God, really, people? I mean, come on. Because my numbers are balanced now, total destruction, and the side effect of that is so toxic, it's horrible. But that's just another example. So we're doing the same thing with metformin now. Your blood sugar's through the roof, right? You're going to die. You're going to wind up with the cardiovascular damage and amputation of digits. But that's okay. Just take some more of this, right? And don't even get me started on Zemka and all these other weight loss things because these people are... This is so young that we don't even really have a clue yet what that's going to do. And by the time we do, I think it's going to be a tsunami of health-related issues.
I mean, think about it. Yeah, I mean, the people with poor health right now, they weren't eating that bad when they were kids. But look at the kids now that are eating terrible okay, think about how much
Well, we
happens
talk
in the
about
first
that.
10 years of
Yeah.
childhood, all the stuff that's developing the first
Yes,
10 years,
right.
and they're eating. Go to the cereal aisle.
Cancer's now occurring in the 20s that used to not occur until the 70s,
A
right?
14-year-old from my gym.
Yeah. I know.
Straight up. But go look at the cereal aisle and see what kids are eating now.
Yeah.
The stuff they're coming up with, Sour Patch Candy, they have a cereal for that. They have a cereal for like Cinnabon. They have a cereal for, I mean, everything, you know.
And don't think the kids are on that aisle either, okay? No, there's college, there's grown adults who got to have their bowl of cereal before they go to bed at night. It's spooky. It's spooky. So, you know, and God bless them. You know, by the time they show up at my door wanting some help, man, it's a long haul back. So much easier. Get this knowledge, use this knowledge as quickly as you can. But this is just another one of those little simple things. It's sort of like that detoxification podcast that we did. I mean, it's almost a no-brainer, all right? And so for a lot of people, what we love to do here is we like to use common sense. And this is really, really, really common sense approach to longevity with vitality, which is what, hey, we're all about. So what else you got on that topic, Cam?
I mean, that's about it. I mean,
That's good. I mean, that's pretty much it. It's, you know, it's cut and dry on this one, people.
To go
not
back-
in depth.
yeah,
Not a lot of physiology. Not a lot of chemistry.
It's very simple.
Boom.
I mean, it's take out the bad,
Do it. Come on.
put in the good.
That's right.
I mean, it's
Keep it simple, but it's a lifestyle that we have developed since the very beginning. We threw the biscuit in with the eggs in the morning, and, you know, we didn't realize we were creating an earlier demise. So, hope you found this one entertaining, maybe a little enlightening. So, until next time, Dr. J and Cam signing out. Again, please opine. And if you want to shoot us an email, go to the website, www.drjoeyjones.com, or shoot it out to the podcast, right? Info will follow. So, as always, hope you have yourself a good day so that you are
not missing one.
Thank you, Chris. Till next time, everybody. Ciao.